Empty the chamber on them. And how do you do that? First 6 seconds, 8 to 20 feet, everything you got. Everything you got. Turn that shit up. Let's go.
Welcome to the Scoop World Order. God bless Harry Miller edition. My man Harry Miller announced his retirement today. He has been going through some things. I am so happy for the kid. He's a fantastic kid. Also, Ohio State completed their second spring practice. They were in spider shells, which are little pillow pads, and now they are off to spring break. So they have meetings tomorrow on Friday, and then they will be on the first thing smoking out of town, to go home, go see their family, go to, wherever they'd like to go on spring break. So you guys get a little bit of relaxation. Some of the new coaches get to unpack some of their moving boxes, which I'm sure that their wives are happy about. And it's an exciting time, but they got 2 good practices in, 2 good days of work. Excited to see some of the adjustments that have been made to the depth chart, which we adjusted. We're going to show it in a little bit, but the big story there is Harry Miller, obviously. So, I'm going to bring Nevadabuck in a second, but real quick, if you guys are enjoying this channel, you're enjoying these videos, please leave us a comment, leave us a like. It's been really, really, unbelievable how good we've been growing and how our, the site's it's been killing it, and it's all because of you guys. So we appreciate you. Your comments are always well received. I enjoy getting feedback. So I'm going to bring in Nevada. Obviously we've known for almost probably since September about some of the things that Harry was dealing with. He finally decided to retire. I'm very happy for him. What were your initial thoughts when you heard that Harry Miller was medically retiring today?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I was a little relieved because I've been worried about Harry for a while. And, if you go back and listen to our podcasts, it's one of those things where we're kind of walking a fine line because we don't want to betray confidence. We're also rooting for the kid to, come back if he wants to come back and play. Some days he looked great, and other days, he was really struggling. And I was just concerned for Harry and concerned for his family. And, I think having this out in the open will be a big relief for him because, I know he's been dealing with this for quite some time. And he's a great kid. I've always said he's the type of kid that could be president of the United States someday, just almost too smart, almost too much in his own head. And I think I was just more relieved than anything else when I heard it than anything.
Yeah, I've kind of been behind the scenes on this. He's got a great mom. Harry's a great kid. I've spent hours on the phone talking to both of them, just trying to guide him. And I've been through very similar stuff with myself and with other kids. And I've had 4 of my teammates that I played with commit suicide, including Shane Olivier, who did it within the last couple of weeks. And it's heartbreaking that you don't see the signs, you don't reach out for help, you don't get there in time to, so to speak, help people. And I was really scared about Harry, and reading that, his note that he wrote, and we have it on our screen. Obviously it's gonna be difficult to read. But it's on his Twitter. I mean, it was chilling, talking about, hurting himself and harming himself. And he's got slit wrists that he's covering up with tape. I mean, it's really, really difficult to read. And, I'm happy that he was able to alleviate some of this burden, that he's had mentally with the game of football by just, walking away from it. I was ecstatic when he announced it. He's a 4.0 kid in engineering. He's gonna have a great life. There's a lot of stuff you can do right that's beyond football. And I couldn't be happier for the kid. And the outpouring of support from his current teammates, former Ohio State players, members of Buckeye Scoop. We've had a huge thread on it, and people, they're just so unbelievably supportive. And it makes you feel good for the kid because he's obviously been battling some stuff. And when I saw him in August, I went to former player day and I saw Harry. I was eating lunch and I walked past and said hi to him because I've talked to him a million times, and he didn't look like he was there. Like, I mean, mentally, it really scared me. And and I reached out to his mom and said, "Hey, is he doing okay?" And she's like, "No." And I knew then it's something. I just you got to kind of get in there. Get in and just try to help the kid as much as you can and talk him through some things. And, just for some people, I think they really need to look in the mirror and say, is it really worth being, saying things to kids or that type of thing? Because it's, these things, they hurt these kids, man. These kids, like they're they're humans. They're not inanimate objects like people think they are. So, but yeah, I was just real, I don't know. I'm happy that Harry's in a better place now, mentally, and it means a lot to me. So, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, so to move on to some of the practice stuff, practice 2 went down today. Nevada, here are some of the names that you're hearing are rising through 2 days of practice. Obviously, they're not even in pads yet, but this is a time where skill guys can show off. And I know you've heard a couple names that have been popping off. So, who are some of the names you're hearing right now?
Well, I think one of the guys that's really come on and it's been really interesting to see this has been Matt Jones. Matt Jones has really had a strong offseason, really looked to be kind of one of the veteran leaders on the offensive line. And interestingly, they moved him over to the right side. He's traditionally been a left guard. They moved him to right guard. And, the thought being, there's a couple thoughts. One, his grades were a little better when he was blocking to the right. And also as a veteran, to give DeWand a little bit more help, have the veteran guy give a little bit more help to DeWand at tackle makes an awful lot of sense. So that, we're looking at a potential, slight position change there with Matt Jones, but he's been a guy that's really been, an up and comer and guy ready to have a big year. It's kind of his money year for him. And I think he's ready to cash in on that. And the second guy that I keep hearing a lot about is Tanner Mcallister. Tanner, they've got him repping with the 2s right now, but he's a really good player. And I'd read some things during the off season about how they weren't sure how good Tanner Mcallister was. Well, he's really good. He's really good. He's really knowledgeable. He's like having another coach on the field. And Tanner's going to be a really good player for Ohio State, and especially in this safety-centric defense, to have a guy like that knows the defense inside and out, impact guy at Oklahoma State, and I think he's really poised for a big year. I thought the third name is might surprise you a little bit is Evan Pryor. I think Evan Pryor really had a good winter, really positioned himself strongly to be in a position to take some number 2 reps. And Mayan, as much as I love Mayan, it's going to be a battle for that backup spot. Nobody's going to unseat Trey. Trey's special, but Evan Pryor's really come on, and I think he's really been a guy that to keep an eye on through these first 2 practices.
Yeah, I agree. I think Matt Jones playing right guard is compelling. I don't know how much they're trying to shuffle along and see who they want to play where, but if I had my druthers, I'd probably put the better, more experienced guard, which Matt Jones is, next to DeWand, who likely is the weaker pass protector between him and PJ. PJ is obviously more athletic, smoother. So I would want to put the more veteran guy at guard next to the lesser of the 2 pass protectors, just so he has a little bit more help on inside moves. I think Joe Royer is really coming on. I'm excited for him. This is year 3 for him, so it's time for him to really up his game. He's a guy, obviously watched him in camp battle Luke Lachey for that scholarship. And, that was, it was tough. Kevin Wilson picked Royer over the legacy. Jim Lachey was right there watching the whole thing too. And, you really got to come out, ahead above a legacy who has a good offer at Iowa. And, Luke played a lot last year at Iowa. So he's interesting. I think Jaden Ballard is a guy that's really going to come on. He, as a deep threat, is something that, I know our guys can all run. Obviously, we saw what Chris Olave ran. We saw what Garrett Wilson ran. But, you can't have enough guys that can stretch the field deep. And I think that you need, the rotation seems like it's going to be coming back this year to the receiver room, where you've got, Julian's going to need some reps. You got Jaden. Again, you're 5-6 deep. And really, I think it's going to be a question is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to be the starting X? Is it going to be a ceremonial thing where Julian starts and Marvin actually plays more? That'll be interesting to see, because I can't imagine the top 3 not being Marvin Harrison Jr., Mecca, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, but we'll see. But I think the real battle to me is that number 4 spot between Julian Fleming and Jaden Ballard, because Jaden, talent-wise, might surpass Julian. Julian's a guy who's extremely talented. He's heralded. He's had significant injuries his entire career. So, Sometimes those things catch up to you and guys can pass you. And another thing that was real interesting is that Jim Knowles discussed the different names of the positions, which was great. So we actually have the real names on the depth chart now. So we have a rush end. There's not a Leo yet. There's not a Jack, which is, kind of the same thing. When they do a regular 4-down defense, they have a rush end, a defensive tackle, a nose guard, and then just an end. So there's a little education. And then it gets real interesting in the secondary because they have a bandit safety, which is just a boundary safety. And for for football people, the boundary is the short side of the field. The field is the wide side of the field. So if you're on the left hash, the boundary is to the offense's left. What is
the wide press banana overload string side of the field? Which one is that?
That is just what the gurus talk about. And I got that's just the gurus who cover 7, 6, 8 mix 22 bandit press over quarters. Like, okay, we get it. You're smart, guru. But sometimes like the gurus, they like to out guru and then I'll actually talk to a coach about certain things and they'll say, he really said that? And I say, yeah, that's a guru. And he's like, wow, like 0 hole coverage, huh? That's interesting. So then, they also, so they're free is essentially a bandit. A strong is their adjuster safety. And then, the guy that used to be the bullet or, whatever else you're called, it's just called a nickel. Because again, everyone always says, oh, they're going to run a 4-2-5 defense. And I'm like, so they're playing nickel. They're playing nickel defense. No, it's a 4-2-5 hybrid double oop-de-oop scheme. I was like, it's nickel defense. Like, it's not, you don't have to make it harder than it is or more fancy than it is. No, it's a 4-2-5. They're going to do that 4-2-5. And, the people that say that are people that never coached football and they don't know anything about football. So they're out here, they're going to run that 4-2-5 on D. And I'm like, well, it's nickel defense. It's like everybody in the universe has ran it for about 50 years. So it's not that big of a deal. But, I'm excited. The young corners I'm excited about. It's going to be interesting. I think, again, the linebackers, I love just kind of looking at this in front of me and just seeing kind of where there are log jams at positions. And again, like I said it before and I'll say it again, like if I'm Cade Silver, I'm trying to go play tight end because, if it's me versus Joe Royer versus me versus Cody Simon, Steele Chambers, Tommy Eichenberg, Court Williams, Ronnie Hickman, there's really 2 spots that Cade could play, and it's either the Will or the Mike, and they're basically the same thing. They're interchangeable. But, I just think that there's guys that can run better than Cade that are going to be playing there, and I think that if there's one thing that we really are lacking on offense right now, other than, we got to make sure that we get a proven guard in there, and I think Donovan will be up to the task, is a blocking tight end. Because I don't know if Joe Roy or G. Scott can be that guy that can hold the point when we run the ball. And I think Cade could absolutely be that guy. So that's one of those things. But our D line's loaded. They haven't even talked about doing any of the 3-down Leo, hybrid stuff that they'd done at Oklahoma State, just because, you got to take one of our deepest groups off the field if you do that, or you have to walk around. And the way that we're going to be playing running teams, I just don't think it makes sense to do that. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I worry a little bit about some of the interior line depth because Josh Fryer's out, Harry Miller just retired, so you lose 2 guys that are starter quality guys. But otherwise it's a pretty solid group. There's going to be reinforcements coming once summer hits, and you get a few new guys in here on the O line. But it's going to be exciting to see how these guys progress through spring. Any closing thoughts on this depth chart? I'm going to run a little bit of film, a little bit of B-roll.
Yeah, no, I was actually, one of the surprises to me has been that fact that Cody Simon is running around out there seemingly without limitation. And that's, I would have thought that he might even been a guy that potentially missed the spring. So that I see him out there and moving around the way that he is really, that's really an encouraging sign, because you know how high I am on Cody. I know you are as well. He was nicked up and slowed by injury a lot last year. And I think he's poised for a huge season. And like I said, I'm surprised to see him moving as good as he is.
Yeah, and I always love these little reels these guys put out. DeWand cutting it up. DeWand looks about as big as a house. Zach, these guys are all excited because they know that this is the last day before spring break. So this is like heaven. It's like that last day, of summer training or whatever. Like in the NFL, you get a whole month off. And it's interesting to see Justin Fry got the chicken coops out. So we call these the chicken coops, and these are something that I remember in 2004, Mark Snyder went down to visit Georgia to visit Mark Richt, and we used to always, these guys would go on visits and they would visit other schools at practice, for a day or two of spring ball, and they'd clinic together. And, it was usually never anyone that was on the schedule, like in that year or in the coming years. So, like he went down and visited Georgia. And like one of the things that Georgia back then was really big in was the chicken coops, which is it's these little, these little deals that, they help you increase your bend, increase your, obviously you can't raise up out of your stance if this thing's above you, because you're going to get conked, you're going to have a concussion. So it's really interesting seeing, they're doing the regular board drills that everyone in the world does, but, adding the chicken coop is just a nice way to enhance leverage and just kind of maintain that posture that, is important to play offensive line. Here's, Mayan going through, Mayan's wearing 3. So again, the guys they're changing numbers again. So, if I say, oh, number 3 looked great at practice today, like, oh, that was Mayan, there it is. There's our boy, Jerron Cage, our favorite player in Nevada. He's out there practicing today. Oh God! But no, it's
do they have blocking sleds out there? That's the question. Or do they have any blocking sleds?
I don't know. That's a great question, because we never really blocked sleds at all when we were there. I mean, it was funny because Ed Warner used to actually, we would do like a pass protection review period with the blocking sleds, just to make sure that Earl Bruce wouldn't get pissed off at us. Seriously. Like we would go over to the sleds and we would walk through pass protections and different things, because Earl, used to destroy Bowman because we never used sleds. And we would go hit the sled on Thursday, but if you go around to NFL camps nowadays, I mean, you're not going to see many people hitting a sled. I mean, you might hit the single man sled, you might hit the Crowther sled a few times, but hitting like the 7-man sled like John Madden used to back in the day, like that doesn't, it doesn't, the thing weighs 1,000 pounds. It takes up a lot of space. And honestly, those guys the sled doesn't move. And when you block these guys, last year we were 60 on first down, like it was like 65% blitz and movement on first down last year. So it's like when you're trying to coach run fits, like they're moving, like they're not. No one is going to, if you're going to play Ohio State, if you're Georgia or Bama, you can just stand in front of you, but everyone else in the world has to move against us, or else they're going to get slaughtered, because our guys are going to blow them off the ball, so they have to move and blitz and confuse. And, it's just one of those things where for me, I don't know, like I don't know, like the sled thing, it was always funny to me because I was like, I wish the guys were as easy to block as a sled, but sleds are static. They just sit there, and it's just one of those things where Ed used to always cover his hind end by having us go hit the stupid, sled during, like when I was a GA, because he didn't want Earl would be out there and he'd be yelling at us because we're not hitting the sled. I'm like, the sled doesn't blitz. The sled doesn't move. The sled isn't athletic. The sled isn't Chase Young. He's like, a freak show athlete that can get around and,
But Kirk, you were playing at the time, so you were really missing the boards. The boards at the time, the major complaint was that the offensive line was not good enough because we didn't use sleds. It's like,
I know. It's funny. This is some old Luke Fickell B-roll, and I got Marcus Freeman back here. Here's Marcus back here with his sweat coat on, and it's just funny back in the olden days. But I know, like people they love that damn sled, and I'm like, guys, like it's just not. It's not really practical, to be honest with you. It's not something that it's funny. This is like the old box tackle drill. Jim Knowles has been really big on tagging the hip, and basically the antithesis of how we used to coach. And like I said, here's Marcus Freeman, who's now the head coach at Notre Dame back here. Luke is probably back here coaching up the ball carrier. And this is like, this is live. This is, Brandon Sane versus whoever. I mean, these are some guys, this is a little bit older, but I think that's Andrew Sweat back here. I don't know who 6 is, but it's just funny. This is how we used to teach tackling, the head across the bow stuff. And Jim Knowles is very anti this now. He's really much on owning the hip, tagging off, less with the face, less head across the bow. So it's funny in 10 years how much this has all changed. But yeah, I always heard the sled stuff because I was like, I mean, I get it. I get like sleds are great and all, but you know, defenses back in the olden days didn't move as much as they do now. You know, they were much more static and, you know, easier to block. But, you know, now it's like, I mean, it's like every play, you know, coordinators are moving. They're gearing it up and they're slanting and they're blitzing and zone blitzes. And, you know, so there's, you know, I mean, you got to work the fundamentals. Obviously, you got to build your leg strength and your ability to drive a guy off the ball, which is what the sled is great for. But, you know, you also have to be ready to move, you know, to react to movement, because that's the game anymore. You can't just be hitting.
But you know, blocking sleds has been replaced by tackles playing guard. So you know, it's just it's the next evolution, man. It's the next evolution.
I'm telling you, and you know, it's funny. I got some Chase Masonis, you know, I got some Chase Masonis hitting the sled here just for your pleasure, because you know, there's Stud, R.I.P. There's our boy, R.I.P. He just got a job at Glenville State. Congrats. So he's the O-line coach. This is Chase Masson. He's out of Jersey. This is their private workout that they had in the summer, and you could just kind of see like what Stud takes these guys through. And you know, and over here they've got Mateo. What's his name? His brother was the quarterback at Clemson. DJ, you know, starts with a U, whatever it is. But that Mateo kid's unbelievable. He's probably the #1 player in the country for next year. Loves Ohio State, loves Larry Johnson. They were really doing work. But, you know, you see this is just kind of hitting the one-man sled. Like, this is a lot more prevalent than hitting, like, the 7-man sled, you know, because you can kind of see the pop in the hips. And, you know, this is something that has been added to recruiting, because you weren't allowed – I mean, you could do these individual workouts, but these weren't very common back in the day. I don't know if we ever put a guy through, even in 2012 when I worked for Urban, I don't know if we ever put guys through, like, just a one-man workout. You know, it was always kind of – in the group. We might pull a guy off to the side for a little bit, but they do these full NFL. These are like NFL style draft workouts, and they film them, and you know they're real regimented. But it's good because you really get to see a kid and see how he explodes, how he takes coaching. And you know, Chase had he had a great workout, and it was fun watching it. And you know, we were working out a lot of guys that were, you know, kind of B type guys. You know, they were guys that were playing B types that ended up going to, you know, like Carter Smith went to Indiana, those types of kids. And, you know, it's always just interesting to see what they put them through. This is just star drill. You can see their agility, see if they can bend, see how rickety they are, or how fluid they are. You know, again, like, is a guy ever going to do this in an actual game? No, but it's just like a good way to change of direction and agility. And, you know, the drills look kind of silly, but, you know, some of these coaches swear by them. But but we did hit a sled. And we got the different sled. I mean, that's kind of like a sled, I guess. I mean, is that a sled, Nevada, or no?
No, that's like pads against the wall.
I mean, I'm asking. Oh, now we got the balls out. We got the med balls out. Oh God, it's already a pass set, punch, pass set, punch. Again, you know, I can't wait till you deploy. This is the thing I love about Jim Knowles, is he's going to bring out the giant medicine balls for our pass rushers, since we couldn't rush the passer last year. So this year, like, Zach Harrison is going to have a giant med ball when he comes out of his hand. He's going to hurl it at the tackle to try and get past him. So Jim Knowles is a genius. You know, he's a Cornell guy, and he read that med balls are the key to pressure and pass rush. And that's why they had like 56 sacks at Oklahoma State, is because he gave all of his guys med balls and they threw them at the tackles and ran right past them. So again, this is the Jim Knowles plan. I can't wait to see it. But yeah, this is like kind of like what a standard workout looks like for some of these kids. And yeah, I think there's a decent chance we get Chase. You know, I know that Luke Montgomery, or excuse me, Luke, he's really doing the work to try and get this kid in here and get him committed. You know, he's a really good looking kid, nice kid. Had a fantastic workout. You know, obviously we'd already had him offered, and you know, he's built. You know, I believe he goes to Bosco. So when we were watching the film of our guy Des Jones, like, you know, Chase was playing on the other side for Bosco. So he's from a superstar program, and again, you know, get the med ball out, board drills. So, but yeah, it's going to be exciting. You know, these kids get about 8-9 days off, and you know, they got to go do what they got to do. I mean, when I had spring break, I didn't go anywhere. I'd always just stay at the Woody, because it was just, you know, I'm from Canton, so I'd go home for a day or two, but I was in the gym working out every day, just because I didn't want to. You don't want to lose your conditioning over 7 days because you're going on like a booze cruise in Daytona Beach or whatever some of these guys are thinking they're going to do. Or, you know, with the NIL money they have now, they can go to like Vegas or Miami or somewhere crazy and really get after it. So It's going to be interesting to see, who comes back ready to rock and what guys have a little bit of that hangover on them. So, spring break is always like one of those, it's like a double-edged sword because some of these guys, you don't worry about anything. And some of these guys, you worry about them going back home. You worry about them partying too hard. You worry about them gaining weight because some of these guys, they'll go home for 7 days and they'll put on 20 pounds. And, that happens. Like you get a guy back on the scale. We had a guy I played with that gained like 22 pounds in 4 days, like over Thanksgiving break. Like we beat Michigan. He went home and gained like 21 pounds in 4 days. And I was like,
does his name rhyme with Steve Rearing?
yeah, it did. And I was like, I didn't even know how that was possible. I was like, if you paid me $1 million to gain 20 pounds in 5 days or 4 days, I don't even know how you do it. Like, I mean, is it just you eat just all pudding all the time? I guess I don't know. But that was like, they usually weigh these guys when they'll weigh these guys tomorrow because they've got meetings and film review tomorrow. They'll weigh them before they leave, and then they'll weigh them as soon as they get back. And you don't want to be on the wrong side of the scale when you come back from spring break. Yeah, there's Mateo right there. Again, this kid was a studly looking kid. His dad is a great guy. His dad's Big Dave. He's over there watching it. He's a great looking player, dude. And if we get that kid, I mean, like I said, I don't know who's rated ahead of him in the country, but I'd have him at number one because he was a big fluid dude. He was a big tight end, plays 7-on-7 tight end. But yeah, this is a little bit of our film. So I'm excited, man. It's the scoop is picking up. We got once we put the pads on, then things are really going to get to popping on the scoop, and we're going to be excited for those reports. So, in closing, Nevada, I did get you a photo of someone hitting a sled. So you're proud of me for that one?
No, I am. I'm glad you brought up NIL too here with the spring break because it's going to change what these kids do. Like you said, before they might be, driving down to Kentucky or something like that. And now for the kind of money these guys have, and frankly, there's NIL opportunities over spring break as well. So it's like, it's the wild, wild west, and we just got to hold on, hope for no bad news, and let's get back and start the hitting in 9 days.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like it's obvious, but like when you see CJ Stroud rocking his athlete's first shirt already, if this would have been like in my era and like someone's walking around with like an basically the agency he's going to go with, and he's at the Super Bowl with, David Mugliata, the super agent who has Mike Thomas, Justin Fields, Dwayne Haskins. I don't know if he has Haskins still, but he has Jalen Ramsey, Earl Thomas. Like, I mean, this guy's like the super agent, and he's sitting in a suite at the Super Bowl with those guys. You're taking photos. Like 10 years ago, man, that would have been the compliance on line one. The second you landed at the airport, they'd be picking you up at the terminal. And it's like, now it's like, welcome to the new age, baby. And it's great. I'm great for CJ, man, because I'm sure that SoFi had awesome food in that suite. So, it's a new day, man. I'm telling you, these kids are, God bless them for taking advantage of it. We just posted a thing on Buckeye Scoop where Lincoln Raleigh bought a $17 million house in LA. So I'm glad these kids are getting paid now, man, because it's about time. So in closing, we get, next week's going to be a little dry in terms of with no practice, but I'm excited to get back at it. So I'm going to finish this thing out. We really appreciate you guys joining the scoop again, with spring ball going on, with football being back, with recruiting, with NIL, with transfer portal. You guys need to be inside, and there's no better place to be than BuckeyeScoop.com. We've had just an incredible run of information and growth. Our YouTube is exploding right now. So if you enjoy our YouTube, please click on the subscribe button, give us a like, leave us comments. I actually enjoy reading every comment, good and bad, because I do like seeing where we can do better. So we appreciate that. But the feedback's been amazing. Scoop family's been amazing. Really appreciate you guys. We hope that you guys have just an absolutely fantastic time. If you're going on spring break, please be safe. But we appreciate you, Buckeye Nation. Thank you for all you guys do for us. Go Bucks. I'm so proud of Harry here. So this is a video they did on quantum physics, and the kid's a different cat. So I'm happy for you, big dog. You are a special, special kid. So if you guys want to search this, check it out. It's on YouTube. Harry Miller. It's one of the funniest videos I've ever seen. So check it out because you'll get a kick out of this one. So Scoop family, I appreciate you. Buckeye Nation, we appreciate you. Go Bucks.